can't see anybody's bookshelves.
Right, we're now live on YouTube for what it's worth.
Oh, fuck.
Maybe we want to mute everybody to begin with.
Shall I? Have you emailed me those documents, Penny?
No.
Hey, hang on, admit. People should be able to mute themselves. So if you can mute yourself, just mute yourself. Hang on. Brilliant. So YouTube's working.
Just to also say on YouTube, there's about a 40-second delay. But we can't actually hear them speak, but I've got it on my phone here. So technology. If you type in any questions or comments, I should be able to field that and feedback to the people on the Zoom call. Hopefully.
Hang on. Okay.
I've just got a package at the door. 1 sec.
Okay, we'll just get started quick.
Really? Oh, Neil. Excellent. Shireen, Toby, Leonora, Emma, Stephen, Daisy. It's nice to see everybody, isn't it?
Oh, I can hear somebody's audio. Shall we just get started, yeah? I can hear audio of somebody talking from somewhere. Don't know who that is. Right. Has somebody got a television or radio on in the background there?
Associate Professor, Poetry Science, Rhodes Scholar.
Hey, Toby, don't be insulted. I'm going to mute you. Okay. Right, is that right? Okay, well, welcome everyone. Penny, are you there? Yes, I can see you. First of all, thank you very much for attending. It's great to have so many of you virtually. It's nice to see all your faces. Nice to have a nosy into your house. I'm a very nosy person. This is, a great thing for very pathologically nosy people. I salute you, Michael, for giving the least away. Just a blank white wall behind you. Well done. So we can be here for pretty much as long as we like, but we're going to try and make this run as swiftly as possible. I'd ask you to keep any questions, because you are muted. If you want to ask a question, at each section, there'll be an opportunity for a question at the end. So just raise your hand and I'll unmute you, or unmute yourself and ask the question at the end of each part. Obviously, there is an opportunity for any kind of questions or any kind of discussion at the end of the meeting, and we can talk about whatever you want to talk about or ask any questions. So it might be handy if you take a note of any questions and then save it to the end. That'd probably be handy. So first of all, we have basically welcome, and we have some apologies of the people that have sent in their apologies. Do you want me just to read out this list, Penny?
Shall I read it out because it's been updated?
Okay, on you go.
Okay, Selchuk, Maria, Liza, Sarah, Stephen Granger, Jamie, Jess, Adrian, Jane, Peter, Katie, Rob, Simon Buckley, Miranda, Victoria Rose, Kate, Fred, Mark, and Emma Thompson.
Okay, thank you for those apologies. So we now move swiftly on to basically a vote of thanks for the Board of Directors. So I would like to thank everyone for all your hard work over the past year. That's Colin McFarlane, Kirsty Palmer, Kirsty Stansfield, who has now stood down, Gregor Duthie, Elena Phelan, Gordon Orr, Victoria Evans, Penny Sharp, and myself, Innes Smith. Also, Colin will stand down, but because as he is one of our signatories to the bank account, he will not be standing down until we can get a replacement signatory. And if you know anything about banks, this may take a wee while. So Colin will stand down as soon as he can pass the financial missile key onto one of the other directors. So I'd like to thank all of you for all your hard work. Now, how we do it in this organisation is basically the board stands down at the AGM and we are en masse available for re-election. So basically it's whether or not if anybody has any questions or comments about the board, or if you want to somebody wants to nominate the board for re-election, and then we need a seconder and then a vote. So does anyone have anything to say, or does anyone wish to nominate us? You can raise your hand. I can see you all. Daisy, did you raise a hand? Or were you scratching your nose?
Sorry, to nominate all the same board of directors again?
Yeah.
Yes, okay, yeah. I
Okay,
was scratching my nose, but being prompted.
Okay, I appreciate that itchy nose then. Okay, thanks, Daisy. Does anyone second Daisy's nomination? That was Leonora. I saw you first. Okay, so all those in favour, raise your hand. Right, I'm just trying to see if I can see anyone not raising their hand that's not a director. Right, that's basically unanimous then. So all present. Thank you very much, everyone. All present accepting the current board voted for re-election. Thank you very much all. Okay, so so obviously the next thing we do is we then move to the vote of thanks for the Glasgow Project Room Committee. Penny, would you like to do this?
Oh yes, it's the same committee that we had at last year's AGM, which is Shireen and Claire and Stephen Granger, and they've had quite a difficult year, as you'll probably hear in the report later, just due to landlord ongoings, but they've done a fantastic job, and I'd just like to ask if anybody would like to nominate the same group going forward for this year. I saw Rachel. Yep. And seconded by Neil. Yay, cool, excellent. Thank you very much. Thank you for all your hard work, and sorry it's been a bit difficult, but we'll hear from you soon, I'm sure.
Okay, so thank you very much to the Project Room Committee. It's really appreciated. Basically, your work is one of the central pillars of our organisation being a charitable organisation. So thank you very much for that. Do we have a team update? Is that no, not yet. Basically, vote of thanks for the studio managers. So thank you very much for all the studio managers. Basically, that's Thomas Cameron, Tom Thompson, Mac, Peter Murray, and Toby. Now we're going to have a bit of a change forthcoming. Mac has stated she would like to step down, so we need another member to step up and take her place. And due to all the remaining studio managers being male, we would actively welcome and encourage female studio members to become a studio manager. However, anyone should approach the studio managers and discuss joining the subcommittee. It's a really crucial part of the way that the organisation works. So please get in touch. Do you have anything to add to that, Penny? No. Okay. So thank you very much to all the studio managers. So now we move on to the Glasgow Project Room update. So is it you, Shireen? Will you be filling us in? Shall I unmute you then, or can you unmute yourself? No?
I'm going to do a brief.
Claire, you're going to do it. Okay, right, fire away, Claire.
Then I'm going to hand over to Shireen, who's going to talk about what we're going to do next.
Could I ask you to speak up a wee bit, Claire?
Yeah, sorry.
Thanks.
Yeah, let us know. So yeah, just quickly, we did, since last July, we did 9 projects. And then obviously we had to close the gallery in March. So we had 5 projects that we're having to reschedule at some point. So we've sort of penciled a few things in, but we'll be speaking to those artists just to try and figure out what to do and leave some gaps so that if there is another lockdown, we can, shuffle things about. So we did another call out in February. So we had loads of new proposals just come in March, and so we've selected 4 different projects that could potentially work in the gallery space in some way, even if it's not open, but there could possibly be an online element to them. So we're just speaking to those artists now just to figure out what to do with that, and Shireen's going to speak a bit more about that. We're trying to sort of make sure that the call out reaches more people. We're trying to get a sort of younger and more diverse group of people involved. So yeah, that's about it from me. But I'll hand over to you with.
Hi, thanks, Claire. Yeah, so kind of with that in mind, we've been really sort of thinking, using the time that we can't program anything directly in the space to think about how we can actually make things more accessible. And so whilst there's the chance that we may not be able to do much within the space, it's kind of an opportunity to sort of do some thinking and some research. So we were thinking about actually applying for some funding to put together a working group to maybe rethink the way that the project room works. And this is based on the idea that when it was established in the late 90s, artists were much more in a position to work voluntarily. And this is not something that is so possible anymore. And also at the time, social media hadn't really had the impact that it now does on art practices. So we're wanting to look at the visibility of the organisation and, as Claire says, bringing in younger and more diverse audiences and programmers. So we're looking at potentially putting in a funding application just to gather a group of artists who we've already programmed, recent graduates, studio members, and sort of associated organisations to actually maybe do like 4 to 6 sessions of workshops to come up with some proposals how to take it forward. So we were just interested to see if people were in support of that.
Oh, you're frozen.
I've frozen.
You froze for a wee bit, but I think basically
Okay.
you're saying you're wondering whether or not people would be in support of that.
Yeah, it needs to be signed off by the directors, so we need to kind of get an indication of whether to pursue it or not.
Well, obviously we can discuss this privately, but I would just say that on a personal note, it sounds very interesting and encouraging. Absolutely, we all have to move with the times, and that all sounds very sensible and positive. So yeah.
Yeah, it would be good to get an idea from the membership as well, just in general. If it, I can put a little, I'll put a link up on the chat that's got sort of our ideas on it, if you like, just now. But you can come back to it later.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
So
is
Shireen's,
that enough, Claire? Sorry, Claire. Do you think I've covered everything we need to? For that?
Yeah, I think so.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Thanks.
Okay, that's great, and thank you very much, Shireen. If you check your little chat box, basically Shireen's put a link up to Google Docs. Okay, So help yourself to that document. Thank you very much, Claire and Shireen, and thank you for all your work for the past year, but also the fact that you're very much looking forward about how the project room can grow and progress. That's excellent. Thank you. So now, Penny, the money. So it's your opportunity to dazzle us all with the facts and figures here. Can you share documents here?
I was just going to say, we voted on the board, we voted on the GPR, we didn't vote on the studio managers.
We did. Rachel and Neil proposed, and everyone.
GPR.
Was it?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. And okay, well, shall we do that then now? Yeah, okay. Well, all those in favour of the current studio management board. Oh, here, Pearl is joining. Hang on. Right, so, welcome, Pearl. So, all those in favour of the current studio management, who would like to propose the current studio managers? Anyone? Right, Rachel. Thank you. So the studio managers, Rachel. And who would like to second the studio managers? That's Daisy. All those in favour of the studio managers? Are we all in favour? I'm just going to have to look at everyone. Yes, that's unanimous, all here. Thank you very much. That's unanimous. Okay. Thank you, Penny, for keeping us right there. Okay, and welcome. So that's just Pearl and Mac just joined us. Okay, thank you. Right, so Penny, you're just in time for the fun money stuff. Okay, so off you go, Penny.
I can't share screen. Can you share screen for me?
Well, you try it again.
Yeah, I tried again.
Right.
Oh no, I can do it. Yay.
Yep.
Sorry. Yeah. Okay. Woo, exciting.
That is exciting.
You see that?
Yep.
So as you can see, this is for the year that ended on the 30th of June 2019. So unfortunately, I know our AGM is a wee bit later than normal, but it's usually just before our last accounts have been done, and they still actually haven't been done for this last financial year, 1920. So that's our most current ones. So you can see what they look like. I sent them to everybody, but I don't know if you looked at them. So you can see there who the trustees are, and as we say, these fellas joined us at the last AGM and they're still here, but since then, Kirsty Stansfield and Colin have stood down. So to the exciting part. You can see all the legal parts of, like, this is what the board does. They're in charge of all the finances, and it tells you here, especially in the accounts, exactly what we are liable for and what we're in charge of, and all our policies and whatnot. So the board have quite a distinct role to do within the organisation. So here we are, here's the money. So the income at the end of 2019, we got 52,246 coming in, and we spent 41,360, which left us even with an excess of 10,886. Now we've been gathering this money basically since we moved in 2009, because we've been unsure of how Trongate 103 was actually going to pan out. And it turns out we were quite right to think that, because as you'll hear later, we have been having ongoing troubles with the landlord. So basically we've gathered £1,114,801 as a war chest in order to enable us to move out to another premises or whatever if we need to. So that's basically that. Yeah, so I can unshare, stop sharing. I don't know if there's any other questions about the accounts in particular, but I think that's the main sort of parts that you need to know. Nothing's really changed, nothing's gone up, nothing's gone down too much. We've shaved a wee bit in BT because I got a brand new, whatever it is, contract with them. That's about it. Nothing much else has changed actually. Any questions?
No.
What
Can't
about
see anyone. No questions. Okay. So obviously on behalf of the board and the entire organisation, thank you very much, Penny, for all your hard work over the past year, for making sure that we have that war chest and we have been managed brilliantly in terms of our finance. Thank you very much. Okay, so in terms of rent increase, is there a rent increase, Penny? It's the one announcement you have to make. Is there going to be a rent increase this year?
No.
There you go. So that's good news for everyone. Basically, your rent will remain unchanged. Okay.
Although, to be honest, we say that, but we say that based on what we know currently. But if things change, we are able to, as it states in the lease, increase rents. But we're unlikely to do it. Let's just face it. We're unlikely to do that.
Yes, that's correct. Okay, so it's now for me to update you on what's been happening. Okay, so this might take about 10 or 15 minutes, but I'll try and make it as engaging as an audio book for you. But this is basically an update of what's been going on. Okay, can you hear me? Am I too loud? Am I at a good volume? Okay. So first of all, on behalf of all of you, we extend our condolences to one of our members, Jess Wilson, who has lost her partner, Ian Stoddart. Ian was no stranger to Glasgow Independent Studio, and as a talented musician would often use GIS's facilities, rehearsing in Simon's studio. It's a reminder that GIS isn't just a studio for its members, but is a hub to the wider creative community in Glasgow. And that's the way that it should be. Ian will be missed, and we extend our love and support to Jess at this most difficult time. And now to thank everyone who has given their time and their talent to Glasgow Independent Studio. To all the board members, admin, studio managers, fire marshals and first aiders, project room committee members and studio members who have contributed, you have my sincere gratitude. Special mention must be again made for Colin, who has basically, he's been largely responsible for founding the project room, and he's worked tirelessly for 23 years with his fellow committee members to make the project room such a success. We all owe him a debt of gratitude. And to all of you, over the past year, you have enabled GIS to exist. Do not think that your contribution is taken for granted, because it is not. We need you to keep giving your time as well as your money. And for those of us who could do more, please do. We need you now more than ever. Why? Because we do face a challenging year. Let me start with a challenge that I'm certain that we can all help with, dealing with COVID-19 in our studios. Since the mandated lockdown in March, Penny, working with the board, sought rent relief or a rent holiday from our landlord's city property. Andrew Brooks, the head of property, responded that there would be no rent relief or holiday, but recommended several avenues of funding which might assist. Penny had already sent these links to members by email, along with the board's view that nobody should lose their studio due to pandemic-induced financial stress. And several months on, we repeat this now. If you're worried about meeting your rent, please get in touch. Even if our landlord won't give us a rent holiday, we'll do our best to be accommodating. We understand that these are special circumstances, and we're all in this together. During the lockdown, we never shut the studio. We knew that we provided facilities for those who needed their creative space, either for employment or for just as important, well-being. We wouldn't close GIS and trusted our members to follow the government guidelines on hand washing and social distancing. Now, as easing continues, and more members are likely to use their spaces, we also ask that you wear a mask in communal areas and clean up after yourselves. There are posters everywhere around the studio, thanks to Penny, so please follow our rules for all our safety. Scotland is on track to be COVID-free if we keep to the guidelines. The other major challenge is the one associated with our tenancy in Trongate 103. Since our last AGM, we celebrated 10 years in Trongate on Thursday, the 12th of September. It was a great evening, attended by all tenant organisations of Trongate 103, and was an encouraging reminder of what an essential and vibrant arts hub could and should be: diverse, celebratory, inspirational, and fun. For one night, it was a lot of fun. Of course, the daily grind of being here is grim. Since Glasgow Life withdrew their front of house staff over 3 years ago, our landlord, City Property, has been eager to raise both service charges and rent to such a degree to make our tenancy unaffordable. For those who have attended the past 3 AGMs, you will know something of the negotiations and meetings that have taken place. But for brevity, I will just brief you on 2 meetings since the last AGM, one in July of 2019 and one in February 2020. The July meeting was in fact the one trailed in last year's AGM as being a potential source of encouragement. However, despite the backing of several stakeholders, for example, Creative Scotland and Scottish Enterprise, it was evident that Glasgow City Council, City Property, Glasgow Life, and the Development and Regeneration Services had a singular vision for Trongate 103, that Glasgow Life would not be coming back, that their preferred business model would be a tenancy group managing their own building, and City Property would be increasing their charges and rents. The Tenants Forum made it clear that we could not afford to pay significantly increased costs. In response, City Property promised that they would liaise with each organisation within the building to get to know us, how we operated, how we were funded, and what our resources were. The Tenants Forum agreed to this, but crucially though, no agreement with City Property would be made without collective discussion and consent. If there's one thing about dealing with Glasgow City Council over the past few years, it has, at last, brought all Trongate tenants together. We all awaited our individual hot dates with men in suits, but for City Property, no intimate meetings were forthcoming. The meetings never happened. Instead, each org was summoned to George Street, one after the other, on a cold afternoon in February, to be told that Trongate 103 was running at a substantial loss. This explains why City Property is not properly maintaining their asset, as according to them, it's a money pit. We were given some figures which we were warned were commercially sensitive, but all you need to know is that to break even, City Property intends to charge an additional £750,000 for rent and £1.13 million service charge over the next 7 years. If we include VAT and then break it down per annum, then the amount of increased costs per year is £321,000, split between the different tenants. This increase in charges would begin on the 1st of April 2020. Our service charges would increase by 5 times the current capped amount. In an act of tender mercy, our rent wouldn't rise this year, but would incrementally increase, like the coronavirus infection rate of Florida, over the next 7 years, until not one organisation would be able to afford to stay in Trongate 103. Naturally, this needed to be challenged. As an organisation, we have enough funds to cover the costs of increased service charges for at least this year. But forward planning means that we need to get serious, either about winning this fight with our landlord and Glasgow City Council, or not being in this building. As it happened, due to the pandemic, our service charges were not increased on the 1st of April. But this does not mean that they won't be once normality, whatever that is restored. So my point still stands and is worth repeating. We need to get serious, either about winning this fight with Glasgow City Council and the landlord, or not being in Trongate 103. And as chair, I would ask you on behalf of the organisation, do you want this organisation to continue? Because if you do, you have to join the fight. You might ask how. Well, now more than ever, your contribution is needed. Your board is working in partnership with all the other organisations in Trongate to negotiate a way through this, but your suggestions are always welcome. Email us, arrange to meet up, have a chat. Otherwise, you can help the board by helping studio managers to run this studio like clockwork, so that our energies are focused on a common goal, the survival and growth of Glasgow Independent Studio. To that end, please be engaged, be responsible, be encouraged and encouraging. Answer and respond to admin's emails, update your paperwork, sign your leases, do your bit, whatever it is, and we'll all find that the fight is a little easier. Your creativity is essential. You know it. It's why you are an artist. It's why GIS exists, to help you be creative. But GIS also needs your graph to survive. You need to help. It's time to get serious. Okay. So that's my rousing speech. We now move to the overview of the past 12 months from the studio managers. Do the studio managers have anything to add?
Hello?
Hello?
Are you right there?
Oh, it's Sharon.
Is that you,
Hey,
Sharon?
You're right, I got on at last. Woohoo!
Do we have
I
any?
don't- I
do we
don't
have any-
think there is. Sorry, I don't think there is a studio manager here apart from Mac, who's actually wanting to leave.
Okay.
Oh,
But I have been sent a message by Thomas Cameron to state that unfortunately over the past year they haven't met very much since the last AGM. So not a lot more progress has been made on doing tidy up and stuff, but they are looking forward to maybe increasing the studio management team and tackling actually cleaning up the communal areas. But nothing's been broken as far as we know. Nothing's gone missing. Everything's running fine.
Is
all
Toby
good.
not? Is Toby no longer a studio?
Oh, he
He's
is.
here. He's
I
here.
forgot he was there because I couldn't really see him. Toby, what have you got to say for yourself?
Have you got anything to add, Toby?
No,
Okay.
no, I haven't seen anybody in ages because obviously, but I mean, I think everything just is fine, isn't it? It's running itself, really. Everybody's just getting on with it. So,
Inspirational, Toby. Okay, thanks.
doing my bit.
Okay, so thanks very much. So thanks to all the studio managers, but obviously and thanks to you, Mac, for stepping up over the past year. But Mac is trying to leave, so if anyone can replace Mac, and obviously a female studio manager would be greatly appreciated. That would be great. Okay, so basically that's us towards the end of, I suppose, of a more formal part of the meeting. It's essentially we're now at the part of any other business. So if anybody has anything they would like to discuss, any questions, just raise your hand and unmute yourself. Would anyone like to ask any questions? Sharon, yeah.
Ask, can you just double, because I've come a bit late because I've had crap internet connection. Can you go over who the studio managers are right now? Because you said that someone was changing.
Yes, the studio managers basically at the moment are Thomas Cameron, Tom Thompson. So the two Toms. Mac is on the way out. Peter Murray and Toby Messenger.
And Toby, right? Okay.
Yeah, so Peter, Toby, and the two Toms, and
So-
Mac is wanting to be replaced.
So Mac's leaving. Oh right, okie dokie.
Right.
So
Okay.
again, it's all male apart from Mac, basically. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's why we're asking for female studio managers. Okay.
Okie dokie. Can I ask a wee question? Who's been? How many people have been in it? 'Cause I'm sorry, I'm running late. But how many people have been using the studios? Because having a wee bled, I think with Sheena yesterday, because I've not been in the studio since lockdown, because I've not wanted to be there. How many people have been using the studios in recent times? Do you know?
Well, according to the sign-in book, it seems to be no more than about a dozen a day.
I
And
would
sometimes
ask Michael. He's in quite often.
Michael, unmute yourself.
Hello. Can you hear me?
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. There doesn't appear, well, usually when I'm in, there's no more than maybe 3 or 4 people in at the one time. So, and if in terms of being a safe environment to work in, it feels like there's not too much contact. I think a lot of people feel reluctant to come in, but it's I kind of meet people very infrequently, which sometimes can be the norm, but at the moment it's a bit less so. So yeah, I mean, what was the why were you asking, or what was it you were trying to ascertain by asking?
I was just curious how many people in the studios and how many people were using, how many weren't using it, because I haven't got a clue. I've not been there since basically March, so I was curious of who was in there.
Yeah, I don't think anyone. I think for a while there was hardly anyone in at all, and then over the last 6 weeks, it's definitely there's people who have started to come back. But there's hardly anyone, and then it's now starting to pick up. So there's slightly more people every week.
Okay.
Which is good.
So what would be the procedure, guys, if say I went back to studios and I'm wearing my mask and everything? What would be the procedure if we go into studios and you're with someone who's not wearing a mask? What's the procedure?
Stick a mask on them.
Okay, so what, GBH?
Pull their t-shirt over their head.
Okay, what, strip them?
Everybody has been asked to wear a mask. Now, we can't police that. And I definitely wouldn't suggest that you punch them till their teeth fall out. But, you know, it's up to yourself, whatever you feel is necessary. Yeah, we've been asked to do it. And I think our membership are very caring, sensitive people. And I imagine they're really going to abide by the rules because it's all for the good of everybody. So I wouldn't worry too much.
I think most people will have a mask basically, because either if they're using public transport or they're going into a shop, you will have a mask. And all we're asking is that you put the mask on in the communal area. As soon as you get into your own studio, you can take your mask off. You can take your own clothes off. We don't care once the door is shut. But just, you know, mask up in a communal area, that's all.
So I can be naked, but I've got to wear a mask at the same time?
What you do in your space, Sharon, is your business. We don't want to know. We don't want to know.
Oh, come on, you do secretly.
Right. Does anyone else have any other questions?
Is a workshop definitely out of bounds, just for general, if you know, need a bit more space? Because in the email you sent out, it says the workshop's just completely out of bounds. But if we just take extra precautions, would it be okay to use it?
I would suggest, Toby, that just according to the guidelines that we've been given, is that everything that's communal has to be kept ultra clean. So I'm just thinking, if you're working there and you don't clean up after yourself because you're continuing to work there because you need more space, then that's not actually cleaning up after yourself and allowing other people to use that space.
No,
so that's why we're saying no, Toby. And also, you're not meant to really be eating in the kitchen according to the guidelines either. But I know people are. But we have to be really careful about cleaning up after ourselves and also drying everything. So you can't just wash your dishes and leave them to dry. You have to wash them and dry them and put them away. That's just what the guidelines say. And that's not our guidelines, that's the Scottish Government's guidelines.
Government.
Yeah.
A place has been taped up in there, because I've not been in there. Is a kitchen section taped up so you can't go in there?
No.
Could we do that?
No, because we want people to wash up anyway. The point is, as long as people keep their distance, wash up everything, take the rubbish away with themselves, it should be fine. That's basically it. We should be compliant with the rules. Sorry, Beryl.
I would also just want to point out, Sharon, you can't actually tape up the kitchen area because it's actually, it would create a pinch point for people leaving in an emergency. So it has to be open to get access to emergency exits as well.
Yeah, okay. And are people using the computers still?
Yes, as far as we're aware, somebody might be, but as long as they should just wipe it after they've, you know, just clean up as you go. Basically, that's the idea.
We had a new delivery of hand sanitizer and paper towels today, and toilet paper. Woo-hoo! So all good to go.
Yeah.
And do we have designated people who like take it in turns now, maybe in the future, to clean the toilets, for example? Because I often clean the ladies' bogs when I'm there. Maybe in the future could we set up some kind of timetable where we can share it so it's not the same people cleaning the bogs all the time?
Well, currently the advice and what Penny and that is shared is that you have to clean after you use it every time, Sharon. So that the studio membership have been asked to do that, and I for one will be doing it, and I'm sure other people will do it as well.
And it was spotless yesterday. I have to say, it was a Tuesday I went in. It was absolutely spotless. I thought it was Sheena, because it normally is Sheena that cleans the ladies. I don't know. It was a secret. Oh, it was you cleaning.
No, it usually is.
Right. Yeah, it's quite often Sheena I see has cleaned it, but somebody else has cleaned it and it's absolutely sparkling. So.
Okay. What about the disabled toilet?
Yeah, it didn't look quite as clean.
Okay, so that seems to be the takeaway message there. Just everyone clean up after yourselves, basically. Assume you are a virus-soaked slug and you have to clean up your own trail. That's basically it. Do we have any other questions or queries or comments? Anyone? This is your AGM.
Can I ask a question about the rent stuff? Has it been discussed in the meeting already about rents and having conversations with the city council own those spaces, and it's basically, or it's then arranged then by a kind of sub company? Is it, what kind of a negotiation or conversations have happened about that?
You joined just after that entire update. So if you want, Sharon, what I can do is I'll actually just share. I'll share my Gettysburg address to you. Okay. So you can basically
Can you add it to the chat just now? Ennis?
Yeah, I'll give that a shot. Yeah.
But what's the consensus been, and the people that are there listening right now, what is the consensus about how they feel about it all? I'm curious of the people's opinions.
What, Gordon, do you want to say something? Oh, can't hear you, sorry.
Can't hear you.
Can't hear you.
Gordy, you're not muted, so should, no? Is your mic on? Can't hear you, I'm afraid.
Oh, any one of the other directors want to say something? Just while Ennis is busy and Gordon's muted.
I'll just say, I mean, really, Ennis was sort of just given a kind of like, look, we're getting to that point where, you know, we need to get really serious about it and kind of either really fight to get the right leases and conditions and rental situation happening, or decide to move to another space. And you know, that's can't really argue with that. And so there's discussions ongoing, and that's where we're at. And this was really making a plea for everybody just to kind of do their bit so that the energies of the board and admin can be put to that task. And obviously, and it was asked if the membership had any comments on that. So please feel free, but that's about it. Is that fair?
Yeah. I mean, all I would add, if this is helpful or useful, is that clearly the council, they have an agenda. They have a preferred idea. And the thing is this idea was initially rejected right at the start, before Trongate 103 was actually even formulated and the funding was applied for. And it's the idea that basically that Trongate 103 is managed by a tenancy group, essentially like a trust. So it'd be the Trongate 103 Trust. It would be made up of the tenant organisations, and we would manage the building itself, including essentially we would be entirely responsible for procurement of services. So we would essentially procure cleaning services and essentially generate the service charges for the building ourselves. The only thing is at the beginning of Trongate 103, the council itself said, you guys aren't experts at that. You don't know how to manage arts buildings. We do this all the day long. We'll do it. We'll do it. And the council muscled in there and said, we'll do it for you. And that's when that's when basically the council family became all these arm's length organisations. Now, it's not impossible that this could happen, but the problem is it still needs a lot of funding. So we need more funding to come from somewhere to actually set up this management trust, as it were. I mean, at the moment, the increase in service charges, and we had a look at some of the service charges, and there was some skepticism expressed by other organisations about some of the charges, such as it costs. I mean, just this is from memory. I've not got the figures in front of me, but it was something like the cleaning costs for Trongate 103 over the year was something like 45 grand. So a lot of people say, how does it cost 45 grand to clean the communal areas of Trongate 103? And the council just goes, oh, well, that's how much it costs. Now you might suspect that this is basically the council basically charging one part of the council for another part of the council to make money, give money for itself. And that's a fair criticism. But the point is that's what they are charging at the moment. So it's almost, I feel that they might be trying to force our hand. So we eventually give up and go, all right, we'll manage their own building. But the problem is that in itself will take a lot of time and a lot of money. And it's not really time or money that any of us have. Some of the organisations have mooted the idea, like some of the bigger organisations such as the print studio, because they already have quite substantial sort of administrative there's a lot of staff there. They think, well, maybe we could just manage the entire building, but that in itself would require additional funding for them. And we are in a somewhat unique situation that you fund us. We are membership funded. We don't receive any core funding from any government or non-governmental funding organisation. We fund ourselves, whereas all the other organisations, they've pretty much across the board since the founding of Trongate 103 faced up to a cut in 33% of their core funding for all the organisations. So they have far less money. And now they're facing, an enormous increase in costs. So yeah, it's. I mean, we could bore you senseless about this, and I would like it if you were all fascinated as much as we were. Maybe this is if any of you are particularly interested, we can arrange a separate meeting and we can go over it all. But there are different strategies. All I would say that the most encouraging thing that's happened since Glasgow Life have withdrawn their front of house services is at that point, it's fair to say that some of the organisations within the building were somewhat sanguine and not particularly resistant to their fate. They were like, oh, well, maybe we can afford it. And they didn't really want to make a scene. Whereas now, basically, I know Penny's got her hand up there, but now we all seem to be singing off the same page. Right, Penny, do you want to add something?
I was just going to say, if you are interested in learning about it, then there is the massivest big folder in the office as you go in. You go in behind the door, there's a bureau, and there's a massive big folder of the history of absolutely everything, like from this, I think it starts in 2001, 2002, when we started the dialogue with the council to actually move to another building. We didn't know what building we were going into at that point. We just knew we were getting thrown out of South Block at that time. So that's all documented there. You're welcome to read that. That would give you a good grounding before you then come and actually ask questions. That's what I would suggest.
Yeah, and Ailey, I think you asked a question in the chat, basically about how much of a loss are they running it at. But basically, they, I can't remember if they gave an exact figure, but basically the figures that they gave for how much they were going to increase their costs was basically what they needed to make it profitable, which is basically in over 7 years they needed to raise something like was it 2 million or something like that. So
is that because they need to make it profitable, or because they need to not run at a loss?
I think it's because of, it's a combination of factors. I think it's because of the service charges, the rents that we put in, but also the state of the building, the repairs. They are constantly sort of.
No, I know. I just wonder whether when they're talking about running it at a loss, whether like actually how much of a loss that is, and whether there's any interest from them in running it just as not for profit, so there's no loss but there's no profit, or whether they're hell bent on it being a profit making venture.
I can't remember the exact figure, but they did say that basically it costs them to have Trongate 103 as part of their portfolio to some ridiculous amount. Penny.
Yeah, the original concept of the building, which was developed by Cultural Leisure Services, along with DRS and so on, Historic Scotland, Scottish Enterprise, all this money was put in, and it was meant to be run by CLS at the time, Cultural Leisure Services, which then became Glasgow Life. So that's why we had Glasgow Life as front of house. And basically Glasgow Life were meant to collect all the rent and service charges from us and then put it back into the building. And then it would be sustainable. That's the amazing vision that we got all the millions and millions and millions of pounds for. But that's not actually what happened. In 2010, the council then sold off the building, put it into a portfolio that was given to City Property, which is a commercial wing of the council, and the building was remortgaged, which is completely illegal. And that's the situation we're still dealing with. It's a commercial wing of the council.
Yeah.
Yeah, and way back several years ago, even before Glasgow Life withdrew, City Property were wanting to charge commercial rates, and they were even surprised to learn that the building was entirely occupied by charities. So they didn't even know who they had in their building. But anyway, that's all hilarious, murky water under the bridge. But if you want to know more and get involved, then please do. Do we have any other questions? Any other questions about anything else?
Ines, can I suggest in the future we can actually maybe possibly have Zoom meetings in the future rather than the physical meetings? Because I find that the Zoom meetings are really useful to see everybody.
Okay. Would this about for future AGMs as well?
I'm wondering, do you think?
Well, considering that this is the best attended AGM for about 4 years or 5 years, I think I'm up for that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you know what? If you switch your camera off, Sharon, you can wear what you want.
I girls want to strip naked. That's fine by me.
Yeah.
There's a little strip shows.
Yeah.
I don't care.
Right. So yeah, no, I'm up for that. Yeah, I don't see any reason why. Yeah, I found it to be very constructive. As long as you've found it useful, absolutely. Any other questions or points?
No.
Nope. Okay. Well, excellent then. This means that we've managed to get through an AGM in 1 hour. Thank you very much all for attending. Thank you for your contribution. If anyone wants to know more about the politics and the fight with the council, then email us, get in touch. We can. Oh yeah, sorry, Victoria.
Did I zone out for a minute there, or do we not have to vote to pass the accounts or something?
Oh, well done, Victoria.
I think we did this last year, and we just decided that because the accountant had passed it, it was all good and funky.
Right. So who would care to approve the accounts? Right, Pearl. Who would like to second Pearl in approving the accounts? That's Emma.
O'Neill.
Right. So all those in favour of the accounts, who approves? Right. I can't see your hand there, Sharon. Have you not seen the accounts?
No.
I
No.
did email them to you, but
Okay.
maybe not read them.
Okay.
Not yet.
So does anyone not approve the accounts then? Shireen doesn't approve the accounts. Do you approve the accounts? Or don't you approve? You don't approve of them. You do approve, Shireen, right? It's like a puppet show. It's right, okay. So basically all present approved the accounts apart from, let's say, one abstention, Sharon, because you've not inspected them. Is that fair?
Yeah.
Okay, one abstention, okay. Okay, thank you. And thank you so much, Victoria, for remembering. Well done. You've earned your gold star for today. Okay, any other points? Any other okay, well, if nobody else has anything to say, no more questions, then I thank you very much for attending, and I look forward to seeing you on the other side of this in the studio at some point. And the most important thing, I think the biggest sign off is don't let the bastards grind you down. Basically, try and be as creative as you possibly can be in your studio, and also the more that GIS can be a communally creative place as well. If we can get salons or meetings or group shows or whatever events, something that is a positive communal event. Obviously, it's difficult in the midst of a pandemic, but hopefully once things get back to normal, we can really start to celebrate our creative community and our own and others' creativity. Okay, thank you very much indeed, everyone. Thank you and goodbye. Bye.